Okay, I am back with the Seasons of the Witch. So let me just give a little bit of a preamble as I am wont to do. I have had these decks as they were coming out. Well, I had the Yule, I had the Samhain, and I have walkthroughs of those decks. Those are I'll put those links in the description box below. And and then I think I had Beltane, which I had not done a walkthrough of yet. Um, I just picked up Imbolc and Mabon to complete what is currently here. We are missing Ostara, which is not, so I'm trying to think here. This one is not, the date for this has not been announced. But Litha and Lamas are announced, and the covers are out, and their release dates are out for these two. We don't have any kind of date, as far as I know, of Ostara. So my friend Patrick and I have circled and circled around these decks. Like, I was so excited when they came out because, again, they follow the wheel. I have followed the year. I don't follow the festivals so much as just the seasonal changes, and then I acknowledge the energy of the festivals as well, but it's not like the festivals aren't something that I have a strong practice in. But they do obviously emulate the energy of those seasons in the northern hemisphere, right? You would have to change up the times depending on where you live at. but but so these are decks that have always interested both of us, but I've never used them. I've gotten them, I've done the walkthroughs of them, I've pulled a couple things from them, but I've never really been they haven't felt usable for some reason, and they just have but in any kind of cleaning out, I've never wanted to get rid of them either. So my friend Patrick got the itch again, and he had them. I'll call him out. He had them and passed them on, and so he was going to have to get the whole thing all over again. But we decided that we hadn't given them a really solid chance. So we're like, let's just do some joint, daily-ish draws. We're not going to be super ouchy about it. We're just going to try to roughly do them daily. If we miss one, we miss one, no big deal. And try to figure out either these are just nays because they just don't work for one reason or another, or yes, we actually really like. We wanted to decide one way or another how we felt about them. We started with Yule because we were in Yule season, and this was one of the early ones. And so let me just give a quick rundown here. We have the first three, actually, right? So the first three, these are the first three that came out. So we're with the create, all of them are by Lorianne Anderson and Juliet Diaz. But the first three decks, which are Samhain, which I think came out first, Yule, which I think came out second, and Beltane, which I think came out third. Don't quote me on it. These two I'm pretty sure on. This one I'm pretty sure on, but who knows. These three are by the artist Giada Rose. And then the artist changes, and I don't know which one of these came out first. I think it was Mabon and Imbolc, but it could be the opposite. They changed the artist, and the other two are this new artist, and I'm assuming this other one is going to be the new artist as well, which is Tiana Lukovic, right here. And this was not a bad artist change. They both have a folk style, what I would call a folk style to their artwork. It's not a jarring change in the artist. They have similar styles. Again, you can tell the difference between the two, but they have a similar style to their artwork. So it's really not jarring in terms of the artwork changing. I don't think. Somebody else might find it so, but I don't think it is. Although I've just started with this new artist. I've looked through them, but I've just started pulling from this one. And so, I just don't find it jarring. It both has sort of a folk style to it. And I can tell the difference between the two, but they don't feel jarring. That's where I'm going to go with that. I personally think one of the issues that I had with the first two decks, and I don't know, I haven't done a walkthrough of this one yet. Nope, this looks like it changes those as well, I'm guessing. I'm not sure 100%. I'll have to go through. I'll do a walkthrough of all of them at some point, but right now I'm going to do a walkthrough of Imbolc. But the text on the original Samhain Oracle, which wasn't independent, published first before it went to this, the text on this and the Yule it's like poetic prose, but it can feel a little disconnected or disjointed. I don't know. There's something about the style of the text on the bottoms that I didn't feel really lent itself to like having a clear understanding of where the card was going. And so it felt to me just a little bit disjointed or like awkward phrasing. And again, that can be very purposeful. It's very much poetic prose, but there was something about that to me that was just a little bit, they've changed up, certainly in this one and this one, I believe, and I think this one as well, but I haven't done a walkthrough of those. They've changed up the phrasing to be a little bit more like what you would normally see. It's a more concise phrasing on the bottom, and I actually really like that, and I think that was a great improvement. So there has been a shift in artists, and there has been a tweaking of the phrasing on the bottoms of the decks, which I do think, again, are improvements to the card decks. So I'm, again, Patrick and I have been walking the wheel for a very long time. I'm actually going to teach a workshop. Of course, I have no clue the date. I'll put it in the description box below, but it's like February 18th, maybe something like that, where I'm really working on kind of coalescing a lot of things in the turning of the wheel in the 52 weeks and kind of using a 52 card deck to the playing card, which was originally associated with the seasons, not with elements, but with the seasons. And so I've been, neck deep in this, and then we've been doing the daily draws here. So it has been, all in on the wheel at the moment here. So that's where I'm at. I have walkthroughs of these two. Today I'm going to walk through Imbolc. Again, I just pulled the one pull yesterday, and then this is my today's card, which I really love. And actually, Patrick got the exact same card. With you, water spirit, I wash away what no longer serves me and drink in spells that call for healing. So I like this idea. I do love ritual bathing or using water and salts or crystals even as cleansing, sort of clearing the energy physically. And then that added component of, get some tea, get some, whether fresh tea, iced tea, an herbal, whatever, drink in what it is that you want to ingest and wash away what you need to clear off. So I loved this. This came in this morning. I can't remember. I'll have to look. Oh, here, I can look at my husband. Oops. Oh, I just dumped something on the ground back there. Greenhouse. So my first one was Greenhouse of this, which I also loved. So we've really found, we did several weeks, or several pulls, I should say. I can't remember when we started. We did quite a few pulls from Yule and just tried to just let it be whatever it was. I didn't pay too much attention to the writing at the bottom, and they were really pertinent to what we needed them to be. So we really enjoyed enjoyed the time that we had here. And then on the first, obviously we switched to Imbolc, and so far are enjoying these. So they do, you know, again, we don't feel like we really gave them a solid try. And so they just stayed in this liminal space of, I like the concept, but I never use the decks, and so I feel like we have already made great strides of redeeming them. We're going to keep going. We'll have to use Beltane all through summer because it doesn't look like this will be out unless this just crops up amazingly before then, but I doubt it because there's 2 releases coming, or I'm sorry, for spring, but these are already slotted to go. So I would be surprised if this comes out before that time. But anyways, at the moment, we'll have to use Beltane across the whole season of spring. And then we'll have the summer decks should come out in time. And then, of course, I'm moving into these. So at the moment, we're planning on sticking with it all year. Let's leave that down there. So that's what we're talking about today. I felt like a little bit of a preamble was in order. But let's take a look at this one. And I will pull, whoops, what did I do with the, oh, dang it. What did I do? Oh, here it is. I will put this in as we get to that one. But again, this is Seasons of the Witch. This is the Imbolc Oracle. This is by, all of them are by Lorraine Anderson and Juliet Diaz. And the newer ones are now being illustrated by Tiana Lukovic. I feel like I am, now I can see it better. There we go. Yeah, Lukovic. So again, I liked the first artist, and I really like this artist as well. They both, again, have a very folk style to their artwork, and so I have, you know, I like the art on both of them. I don't have any issue with either of them. So, and it was a good switch. It's not, to me, it's not jarring. So obviously we'll look at the guidebook here in a second. We have the moon in the bottom and the moon in the front. And then we have the back that we know and love. I believe the backs, one second. Okay, the back started, so the Samhain was the first one. And so it had these sort of hands here with the roots and with the moon in the middle. And then the Yule were the hands with the bows on the side. But then it kind of switched to other items, which I quite like. I almost wish like one of these got changed in a further printing, so that there was a different item on the outside. But they all have sort of the moon in the middle and the 4 quadrant, or well, this one has 6, the different symbols around it, other than the first 2, again, which had the hands there. And I'm assuming that the following 2 will have items relative to the season as well on those. So I just wanted to point that out. Now, you know, I've got lids everywhere, and I'm probably going to, let's just put them all over here, and I will I will worry about it when I come back. Okay. Back to Imbolc, which of course has the candles on the back side, and then all of the fronts are the same. They're borderless. They have the title, the number, and then they have a statement of some sort on the bottom of the deck. So they're all set up that way. So we'll come back to those obviously in a minute. And let me zoom in on the guidebook here. The guidebook, again, I like Rockfield Publishing does a great job with their guidebooks. They generally have a nice, they're aesthetically very pleasing. They're gorgeous. They tend to be colored in some way. I'm really a big fan. So there's no difference on these. I like the wheel that we have right here. Obviously we have the symbol of the main symbol of Litha around it, or what at least is on the cover of the box there. And so I keep saying Litha for some reason, but Imbolc, and it's kind of highlighted in blue where we are on the wheel. So the wheel now turns to Imbolc, the midway point between the start of winter and the start of spring. In each deck of Seasons of the Witch Oracle deck series, we hone in on one guiding light, our North Star, to represent the energy of each Sabbath. Imbolc is associated with patience, hope, transitions, and beginning the ascent back to the light after the darkness of winter months, among other things. But in our hearts, we felt like this is the perfect season to represent the self. It's a time when the harshness of spirituality or spiritually dark cycle may bring up feelings of vulnerability or confusion about your next steps, or when you need some encouragement to keep going. We also found the Sabbath to be the most suited for solitary spiritual work, a time when you turn inward and focus on your hopes and dreams. Each card was brought to light with the hope that it would stimulate self-awareness rather than focusing on other people. And so then it goes on to explain that. I like that it gives the themes here. Imbolc themes and areas of focus: awakening, cleansing, healing, hope, illumination, innocence, inspiration, light, patience, sprouting, transitions, well-being, and youth. And then you have your typical, how to use the cards, some ways to read it, falling cards and reversals, whether it jumps or whether you wanted to use reversals. And then it gives some card spreads. This is a deck interview, the Celtic Cross, an Aquarius spread, a candle dressing spread, a coming of spring spread, a rosemary bread spread, quite a few sacred spray spreads, self-ceremony spread. So quite a few spreads that are there. Obviously, the Aquarius spread is based on the Western astrology system. We do go into Aquarius in real sky astronomy, astrology. We're in Imbolc, we're still in Capricorn, but we do shift over to Aquarius the last week of midwinter there. So we do in the season of Imbolc, we are in Aquarius for a good chunk of it before it goes into Pisces. So that's why that would have that spread there, why they have an astrological spread there. So a good amount of spreads to go with, and then it goes right into the card. So you have a beautiful image of the card itself, the title. I really like the keywords, especially in the Yule and the, I would guess the Samhain, kind of for me, skipping this text and going straight to the keywords was a better jump into sort of the key concepts of the card. But so I do really like those. And then it does give whatever the statement is on the card so that you can read it. And then it has a write-up, generally about a page, right, to a little over a page, but I would say on average about a page of text that I do think is actually helpful if you read through it. Especially, I found like the second paragraph tend to really hone into sort of what the card may be meaning if it comes up in a reading. It doesn't say that exactly, but it has that feeling there. So again, really beautiful guidebook. I like how they do their guidebooks. And that goes all the way through the cards. And then we have about the authors and about the illustrator. Tiana Lukovic is an illustrator based in the small medieval city of Ghent in Belgium. Her paintings and illustrations are inspired by the magical and metaphysical realms and contain traces of folklore, fairy tales, and mythology, and a love of nature. You can definitely see that. Again, both artists in this series I would consider folk artists, and so again, it's not a jarring change in my opinion. And I think they both have beautiful artwork. So that's the guidebook there. Let's take a look at the, let's go ahead and put, I gotta remember to take it out and put it up on my, where I'm putting my daily card draws. There we go. But just so we can go through it all. So here we have amethyst. Go where your spirit dwells, where your sight is clear and your breath is liberated. Now, I would also go into other things with amethyst just because I do work with amethyst, and I definitely have some of my own connections to the Fey realm and things like that. But I feel like, again, I can get out of this this idea of getting sort of a space of clarity, where your breath is clear, a space to breathe, a space to get some clarity and insight, I think would be great. The keywords are intuition, spiritual connection, and stress relief. Again, I do think that that helps. Let's go ahead and read this so you can see how the guidebook reads. You may be experiencing a very emotional or stressful time when you receive the amethyst card. Perhaps a situation has gotten out of hand and you aren't sure how you're going to resolve the matter. Amethyst is considered to be both a stone of spiritual connection and helpful in seeking sobriety, which suggests the answer to your question is likely a balance between spiritual and practical means. Taking time to clear your mind in a meditative practice could help in seeking a solution to your problem, or could provide inspiration for your next steps. However, it is still up to you to put the guidance you have received into practice. Connecting with cosmic intelligence has no useful power if you are unwilling or unmotivated to act upon this gift of wisdom. Trust that your intuition is correct and will guide you to the right outcome. Additionally, this card encourages you to find productive ways to manage stress and warns of the destructive habit of playing the victim. Perhaps you even feel powerless against your impulses, but giving in to temptation is likely to lead to further heartache. While it may not be easy, there is a way out of your circumstances, because deep down you know what to do even if you don't want to do it. I will say that I do think one of the things I like is I do feel like they often do focus on actions that you can take. Obviously, this card is specifically about getting the guidance and intuition, but then actually needing to take act on it. So, that's there as well. But I think in general, I do feel like there's often suggestions of how you can actually take an action, or what I would call a prescription part of the reading. And that's something I actually really like in readings. So I think these decks, the way that the authors work with the cards, often lends itself for coming up with some sort of prescription. Like, for example, the bathing ritual. You can just take that metaphorically and get the message, but then you also can go and actually do a bathing ritual. So, so you do actually have a prescriptive and something to take action on as well. And I find I quite like that about the guidebooks. Okay, so obviously we have seen all the stuff to do with amethyst. So next up I should note that as well, they are numbered, but they're also alphabetical. So you really you can very easily find them in the guidebook, which is something all of us appreciate. So here we have Angelica. The bells have rung, chiming far and near. Underneath feathered wings, my dear, you have nothing to fear. So, obviously you have this idea of protection here. Some of the keywords are guardian angel and protection, which makes sense. It's really quite beautiful. I love it. I love the foxes kind of in the backgrounds and next to her here. The next one we have is antlers. Allow the magic of who you are to be seen by the eyes you keep. You are enough, my dear. Take ease in receiving. So receiving gifts once in a lifetime. You are enough. Again, I personally really appreciate the keywords. Part of me wishes the keywords were just on the card, but it's not hard. You still get this idea of being seen here, being enough here. So I think that you still get, in these new quotes, I do think you do get much more of an idea of what they're trying to accomplish right out the gate without even having to look at the guidebook. Because while I like to look at a guidebook. I don't like to feel like I have to look at a guidebook to sort of connect to the core meaning of a card. And so I quite like, again, the changes that they've made to the bottom text. It still takes, that kind of poetic phrasing that I think obviously they enjoy, which is great, but it's just a little bit more concise and seems to just tie a little bit more into the meaning clearly and it's not got so much of a little bit of what I would consider awkward phrasing in it, and so I am really enjoying that energy. Here we have an Aquarius card. You are all are capable of dreaming, but it is those who surrender to vision who are visionaries. So it's about being a visionary. It's about individuality is another key word as well, but also risk taking. That to be a dreamer who actually moves and takes steps from those dreams is there is a risk involved with that I like that concept as well. Here we have arts and crafts. There are quite a few that seem like it's like bread making or certain kind of activity. I guess activities might be a good way to put it. That I think could be like, okay, what am I supposed to do with do I have to go and do arts and crafts? Like, no, I think that they do a good job. Like, these keywords are independence, creating your vision, so actually doing something, getting involved. Nothing exists without the essence of spirit. May it be whispers or chants. Your energy is what brings to life all that you create, right? So then you do have that idea of putting spirit into everything that you do and making everything you do a creative endeavor. Has a message. That doesn't necessarily mean you've got to go bake bread or go do some arts and crafts, right? So I do actually quite like the kind of activity ones because there's a message there and you can just treat it as a message. Or you can add that prescriptive level and say, I'm going to go create something, whatever that might be. I'm going to go ahead and do something. Again, bathing ritual. I quite liked this one. It was very relevant, especially to previous polls that I had. And it's this idea, okay, now let's just wash off what needs to be cleansed, but let's also take in what we want to take in and sort of refill that energetic space, which I think is lovely. And if you, like myself, I don't do bathing rituals because in my apartment, showers are it, but I do like taking cleansing showers. You can even just use Himalayan salt or a Himalayan salt scrub. That is great for cleansing, and then you can make salt scrubs for yourself and all that. Or you can literally, run water, over a crystal and then have that cleanse you as well. So lots of fun ways to be able to actually, energetically and with assistance of salts or herbs or crystals, do some serious energetic cleansing there as well. But the message was, I could have gotten this message. I already have gotten this message. I have not done a ritual shower, which I probably will tonight. But even without doing anything, I've gotten the message that I need. Love this black bear card so much. Your existence is the resistance. All you must do is accept the power awaiting your arrival. Keywords: transcendence, battle, easily won, and personal power. For me, this is going to, bear is such a powerful guardian for me and such an active guardian for me that, it really does have that, that's going to really lean in for me. Is be more about accepting that power of my guardian, and that kind of combined together we can do anything, because again, that's just personal, but you can, don't worry so much about text on the bottom or even keywords. Oracle decks, if it's a great, there are some decks that the Spirit Oracle cards is one in particular, but I really love all of the keywords. Or another animal deck is the Untamed Spirit. I love the keywords on that deck. But I don't always, I have different ways of seeing things. you don't have to be bound by these. These are suggestions of what you might do with it. Take the image, take the title, and kind of roll with it. And whatever comes. They're tweaking messages for you, and you should listen to all of them and not feel completely bound by any keyword or message on the bottom. Love that. Here we have blackberries, which I love because I work with blackberry a lot. There is no weaving with existence when you ignore the presence of spirit within self. The keywords here are spiritual neglect, dwelling on the negative and low vibrations. Again, I do work with blackberry a lot, so I might take this not just as negative, but depending on what I'm using it as, I may just use my correlations to blackberry. But you can also use this. You can just see he looks tangled up and needs to maybe recenter on spirit, right, to kind of keep moving forward in a space. Here we have bloodstone. So there are often plants, there are crystals, as we've already seen with amethyst. There are activities like we've seen with bathing ritual, as well as arts and crafts. Closing your eyes to the truths of reality will only connect you with the illusions you have created. Make a decision, have courage, follow your heart, like it's time to sort of get up and face the truth and head forward. Again, really love the artwork. This is gorgeous. I do have, I haven't always, so Bridget is not an energy, I mean, it's something that I've always been aware of, and I always, been respectful of, but it's not an energy I worked directly with. That has changed since I had done it's like a soul retrieval type experience for myself that connected in with Bridget, and so it has been quite powerful, and I do kind of work with her similarly in connection even with Mother Mary. So it's a very healing energy. It's on my healing space where I light candles for people, so there is that connection there. So I did love to see that there is a Bridget card here. Many manifestations, embracing all your parts and authenticity. May the serpent wake, bellowing with the rising flame and beckoning the wisdom that awaits your return. Quite beautiful. Again, love it. Here we have Bridget's doll now, which are often made, obviously, and I think you can see one hanging. Whoops. Maybe, yeah, see one hanging in the tree. Thread by thread, I weave my desires, working as one with the source of creative power. Good favor, happy life, increased finances, creativity. What I also do like about this, again, is that it is an intentionality, right? If you are creating and making and weaving your intent into something, right, there is a degree of crafting and intention that I quite like. If this came up for me in a reading, that would really, in general, you could make a Bridget's doll, right? But at the other hand, you can also just take that as to really put your intentionality in what you're doing and be focused on putting into what it is that you're doing, all that you're trying to achieve. That I think can be a very great message to come forward. Here we have candle dressing, sharp as nails, engraving my will, intentions spoken, declare what will be. Again, setting intentions, clarity, and asking for what you want. This is really about setting those intentions. A lot of people, right, will utilize the color of candles. B, you can carve. I love to carve in sigils or words into candles before burning. You can also melt them a little bit and roll them into herbs. You can see there are herbs on her table. I'm going to assume that also would be there. So you can put the energy, you can even embed little, fragments of crystals, herbs, write your, runes or sigils or words onto the candle. And then as you burn that away, right, you are setting that intention out into the world. So again, it's about being very focused on your intention, and again, and putting out and asking for what it is that you want is what they're talking about. So I quite love those. Again, very prescriptive. There's do something about, whatever XYZ. Here we have the casserole. Trust in the flavors that led you here, an unexpected alignment. Let it move you in ways that capture your soul. I will say for me, that, doesn't entirely like say something to me. The keywords are alignment and bringing things together in a harmonious way, which I do like. And that's definitely what, when you think about a casserole, it's a right? It's a multi-ingredient dish, right? You're bringing in all these things together to make a full meal. So it kind of has a cauldron feel to it as my prescription, right? It would be, again, crafting all of the pieces of what it's also got cooking magic. Put magic in everything that you do, but I'll bring all of the elements that you want together and into what it is that you want, which I think is really pretty cool also. And again, you can make a casserole with your intentions. Use different herbs that mean different things. Use different ingredients that bring what you want to bring. Creating food is magic. Feeding other people is magic. Feeding and sustaining yourself is magic. It all, when we do it with intention, I did a video about knitting with intention. Same thing with cooking, right? If we cook for ourselves and our family, putting in the ingredients that will sustain us and comfort us, putting in the intentions to feed and sustain and care for, that's a powerful energy that we are ingesting, or other people are ingesting from us, that is just so, should not be ignored. I love the cinnamon rolls, warm my heart, all deserving comfort ready. So this is more comfort food, and a cup of tea and a hot cinnamon roll made from love. I just absolutely love that. Here we have the coming of spring. This is a beautiful image. I mean, all of the images are beautiful, but this is really beautiful. Preparing for rebirth, reaching for the light. This does remind me very much of the soul retrieval that I did. And so there is a lot of power here where, it's still winter, right? And in my area, it's going to be winter for a while, but we can anticipate the spring, right? And look to the light, even in the darker times and in the darker months. It's really beautiful. Consecrate tools. So again, this is sort of a cleansing and empowering. I love this. Displaying spirit, claiming ownership, taking the time to go through and claim what is yours, cleanse it, get it ready. You're setting yourself up for a powerful movement. I will claim what is mine, what I see beyond the hidden. Gifted spirit, by tongue my words spill with purpose. So again, a lot of these are setting your intentions, and this is for me would really be about setting yourself up for success, right? Getting all of your tools in order, getting all of yourself situated so that you can work from a place of power. That's a fantastic message to come through in a reading. Here we have the dark days of winter. I must seek to befriend the hidden parts of self, the darkness that embrace. So I love that because that's very different, although they have tied energy, right, of the dark days of winter. This is anticipating the spring, where this is really sitting in it. I know this is not, but it almost has that sort of child pose, sort of curled up together, and really just being present in that darkness, which is sometimes the case and what we need. I love the stance of this guardian energy. That for me feels very wolf. It's not wolf. It looks, well, maybe it is. I don't know what it is. I look at them sometimes kind of foxy, the images that she uses often, but for me that very much speaks my wolf guardian energy. And just the posturing of that feels very strong. So I think that I just really love that card, and it's tied but not repetitive energy, which I think they're both very different and beautiful in their own right. Love the dawn. Even in the winter time, right, we have the dawn. I love the clouds with the different animals in the sky. There is light and beauty to be found in the winter time, and it's a different kind of energy than dawn in the spring or dawn in the summer or dawn in the autumn, right? There's something beautiful about the sun coming up after a long, cold winter's night that is quite beautiful. Slow it down, move slower still, become the witness swelling in presence. I actually like that phraseology. I don't think that's a word. Phraseology? I don't think that's a word. I like that phrasing. There we go. Here we have devotional. I think this is really beautiful because this does remind me how I feel in the morning when I do sit down with my planner. I have been, trying to just go into, because of where I'm setting my cards out when I walk out of my bedroom, like they're right there. So I have an urge in the morning, have my coffee, pull my card. I do, best when I sit down with my planner and kind of sort things out. So this is more reflection and devotions, but it makes me feel that connected to that energy of being reflective, figuring out, because I usually look at what I've achieved in the last day. I do tend to look at the card of the last day and then kind of set myself for the present. So that's what comes to mind. I love the little squirrel here, and I love her hair tangling in the branches. But this is, the card itself is really a lot more about reflection, taking the time to reflect on things, which is also beautiful. Again, you can go in many ways when a reading comes up, depending on what pops. But I love that. And again, her artwork is gorgeous. Absolutely love it. I love this dream realm. Again, love the imagery of this. It feels like being tied into the dream realm. I do a lot of my work, journeying work, as well as just, I'm very much true dreaming, journey dreaming, messages from dreams. Like, that is a huge part of who I am. So having a card of the dream realm is beautiful. Now, I don't go with, like, the keywords for this are romanticizing, denial, blowing things out of proportion. That's not how I would personally read this one. Now, if I were using reversals, I could see that. Right now, I'm kind of falling through dream, and maybe I'm not getting my footing and I'm not seeing things. You do have to be really careful about perspective in dream work. So I think that shadow aspect is definitely there. But my first hit on this is not negative. I really love that card. I would just not use the keywords in the book. Again, love this image. Love this image. Forged in fire. Your strength was crafted through adversity, a mastery only you behold. Down in the roots. Again, I'm a rootsy person. I envision power on the web. She's like underground working the web, and that is what's firing the cauldron above. And of course, I also work with the 3 cauldrons a lot. So this is like very, I love this card. Absolutely love this card. Okay, so here we have garlic. I like this. It looks like it's about boundaries. It's unwise to walk beyond the boundaries you have yet to expand on. Protection among all else. Keywords here: defensiveness, protection, and managing negativity. So that's interesting. I love that with garlic. Obviously, you use that to ward off things like vampires and other things as well. I had gotten the greenhouse. Again, love this card, or I love the artwork on this card. And I really, again, like the setting of clear intentions and planting the things that I want to harvest later on in the fall. Obviously, that's important energy. But in this case, it's like sort of setting preparations and planning. And with some work, like using a greenhouse, you can actually get a head start on some of that stuff. So I liked some of the things that came out of that. I thought was really great. Here we have a grimoire. Keep what is sacred near you, for it is only to be shared when you are ready. This has keywords of avoiding gossip, which I don't know if I feel like that has anything to do with grimoire. Keeping secrets and guarding your plans. I do think there are things that we should be keeping close to our chest. Things that we don't have to share everything. So I do think that part I don't think, to me, this would have anything to do with gossip, but there are some things to hold to yourself until there's some reason that you might wish to share that. But there's also this idea of keeping track of things as well, and noting the things that do work and that don't work, so that you can continue to utilize those that you could also use as a reading. So love that. This is the groundhog. This, again, I really Love this artwork. Look at her all snugged up in the trunk of this tree. Again, love her art style a lot, like a lot. Groundhog alertness, waking up, and truth seeking. It's time to kind of wake up and check on things a little bit. But I just love that image 100%. And this one too. Horned owl, become the shadow that watches, keeping quiet while moving intentionally. A lot of intentionality, which I quite love in this particular deck. Moving with stealth, keeping watch, doing a lot of just being watchful. And when the moment comes to strike, you'll strike, but just be alert. The house mouse is getting into the grimoire, looks like. That one is so cute. I can do it. Confidence, assurance, fearlessness. You know the things you are capable of, but are you confident and leaning into that belief? That is cute. This little mouse, he is going to do his magic. Size does not matter. Love it. This is similar to the what we see, except for there's some more flowers added to the one on the box top. That's interesting. I wonder why they didn't add those into this, although I do like all of the snowdrops here, so that might be why in terms of the card they have that separately. Incense, so you can see all the smoke and this little incense pot that's here. Clearing blocks, aha moments. I would use this for clearing, for cleansing, for revealing, so yeah, or for purifying. There's a lot of things you can do with incense, right? Some of us, like myself, can't really use incense because it gives me migraines, but I like that this little pot though, because I do like burn herbs and things like that I can do, but having a card that you can set that intention is also good. Here we have keening. This one's really powerful, right? That idea of really just letting that energy out, and acknowledging pain, releasing it, expressing the emotion in a powerful way. We don't need to keep these things inside. Sometimes we just need to let it out and express it. So I think that's actually really quite powerful. Here we have calming. This is where that you can go on, if you go on YouTube and if you search, I can't add the sound in here because it will block my video, but if you go on YouTube and search calming, Jonna Jinton, JonnaJinton, search that and you can hear some beautiful examples of some Swedish calming. And I may be pronouncing that incorrectly, but absolutely amazing, because both of these are using your voice, right? This one is, putting that energy out of what you're calling to you, I guess is how I would see that, right? Coming back home, a return to the self, answering the call, a taking action, whereas this is a releasing and letting out, but they're both intentionally using the voice, so I quite like those as cards as well. Here we have the Milk Moon Witch. Clarity, tides turning, victorious outcome. Watch as tides turn in your favor, weaving the waters within and conjuring unspoken desire. So now there's a turning of the tides and that sort of energy shifting here. You could even use this as, hey, there is a tide turning. Energy is, if whatever situation you're reading about is starting to turn in your favor. That's really great to have in a reading. Love this North Star. I think Patrick got the North Star for his first one. I am embodiment of what I seek, walking with purpose while focused on my path. Having a purpose, having a focus, knowing yourself, reorienting yourself, right? I also, again, like the mirroring of these, the light and the dark. The artwork, I do like the combination of those. Quite beautiful. Love it. Peppermint, I use a ton of peppermint. So I like that there's peppermint and blackberry. I have to look at some of the other decks. I use a lot of peppermint. I use a lot of blackberry. I use a lot of cinnamon. So I'll have to look and see if any of her decks have a cinnamon in it. Take from me what keeps me held back, clearing myself from all that does not belong in the vision of what's to come. Clearing toxic relationships and behaviors. Again, anything that you utilize peppermint for, you could use this card for, right? But in this case, it is a detoxing kind of it, which is certainly something we need, right? Here we have river rocks. Go with the current, dear one. Find peace in letting go. Let life wash over your soul. And I like this because we have a lot of cards about intentionality and very carefully crafting and moving your way, but sometimes we do just have to let go and just flow with the energy of things. There are times to do so, and it can be really powerful moments when we do. So I do like that this is in there in a deck that is very intention oriented. Here we have rosemary bread. Share and commune with the ones who mean the most to you. Break bread with the spirit of rosemary, which will call for healing and mend. So this then you could use, because we have a couple different feeding ones, right? We have the casserole, but that's really about, putting in all of the ingredients that you want to create what you're trying to create. And then we have the cinnamon roll one, which is a sharing comfort, right? And this sort of camaraderie more. Of course, can I find them now? No. There's here's the cinnamon one, or cinnamon roll one. I must pass the other one. But this is interesting because in this one, it could be creating the foods for actual healing. And again, crafting our own healing. Making amends, healing relationships. It's a healing and amending intentions. And so while we have so far 3 foods, you can use those in very different ways, which I like to see. The energies not just be repetitive. Love the sacred space. Love the broom here. You have to clear out your sacred space. You've got to clear out your energy. Mundane tasks. A need for practicality. Sacred space is not just is magic and mundane. So, and you can see that in this imagery as well. And then that, letting in the fresh air, sweeping out the negative. So maintaining your sacred space is how I would probably roll with that. Here we have self-ceremony. Create the visions you desire. Take actions to the plans to lead to fulfillment. This is more around planning the future. The material, what are the actual material things that you want to achieve, planning for those, setting those things into motion as well. So there are a lot, let me see if it's one of the keywords. There's a lot of doing, get these things done here that I really like. I think that there could be, it's interesting because intention's not really even here. I think intention should be on this list because there's a lot of being very intentional and mindful and setting things into motion. So far, I haven't bumped on ones that I feel like exact. This one seems like maybe just one too many of saying, okay, well, I've kind of feel like we've covered a lot of that energy, but this is more focused on material things and gaining what you want that way, and that you do. But again, I like that it says take action. You can't just do in my opinion, right? You can't just set intentions. You can't just do a magic working. You have to then take action after you do those things. So I would probably lean into that. It's good to do the stuff inwardly in terms of self, but you also then have to go out and take action. So I think mostly, there is a very easy way to look at these slightly different. I'm just going to run through real quick. The grimoire, now that's keeping close at hand. I'm just trying to see. I don't know. I think I might be wrong. I think there is a lot of intention, but the bathing ritual is very specific to one thing. That's different. That's different. Bridget's different. Candle dressing, maybe a little bit. That's probably it. Again, all of them consecrating your tool, but that's preparatory. Sacred space, that's more about the larger space. So candle dressing, you are setting your will and your intention and speaking what you want to speak. This is so these two may be somewhat similar, but this really is focused on setting it in motion and then taking plans on it to bring it to fulfillment. So that's probably where I might differentiate these. But I would say overall, while you definitely have an energy of mindfulness and intentionality, if that's a word, I don't feel like they overlap strongly. And again, I only pull this type of deck. I only pull 1, 3 at the most. So if 2 cards that were quite close came in a 3 card, it would just really amplify that message, so it wouldn't bother me. I really don't do large readings with this type of deck. Here we have Serpent, slither through and out as you shed in preparation for new beginning. Love that. That image is really gorgeous. Snowdrops, when all seems to stem from the unknown, hold firm in knowing that all will be as it should. It's all going to turn out okay. I like this. For me, this will be an all will be well, all will be well, all manner of things will be well, that we sometimes just need to remind ourselves. I love the imagery here as well. Snowflakes, enjoying life. Don't miss on those moments. Don't take for granted those moments of, just being out and playing in the snow. Love, love, love that. Here we have Swan energy. I am everything I seek, the one I am meant to trust above all else, to create one of the strongest loves within my lifetime. Interesting. Again, I don't always love these. I like these better than the first. Loyalty, romance, love, creating a strong relationship to self. I do like this in the sense that it kind of, for me then, would be you have to have love and confidence in self before you can go out and connect, or before you can healthily, I should say, go out and connect to others, right? We have to have that understanding and confidence and love of self so that we can meet other people in that same position. So I think that's quite beautiful. I love, again, the imagery here as well. And then I was so excited there was a weather divination card. As you know, I do track weather. In fact, I was just updating mine from today. So I love this. This is kind of a scary position that she's in. I don't understand. I think maybe she's floating. It kind of looks like she is like in a creepy movie, like where they do that kind of weird back bend and they start crawling around, which creeps me out. So I kind of don't love the position, or if it would be slightly sideways so you could kind of see her floating. I don't know. I love the image, but I will say I don't absolutely love the positioning. Thunder, wind. What does that say up there? Maybe soul. It kind of looks like soul, but it's probably something else. But I do love that there's a weather divination. I trust in what I feel, for what I feel are signs to pay mind to. So paying attention to around you, interpreting the energy around you, which is what weather divination is. Absolutely love that, other than the creepy body shape positioning. Winter besom, sweep away ill intent while creating safe boundaries. Absolutely love this. Slightly overlapping to the sacred space, but this is very specific. The other would be doing all the things in sacred space. This is very, very specific, and I do love the card. So a slight over, but not, I think, where it would cause any issues. And then lastly, the beautiful winter woodlands. I love the animals here. I love the little cave energy. Take time to honor what you feel. Self-compassion is the healing balm. So this is really having compassion and empathy for self. Grace starts here, right? That's, I think, a beautiful message to come forward. So, yep, that is the Seasons of the Witch Imbolc edition. Very strong, again, in mindfulness, intentionality, doing things with a focus, doing things with a determination, doing things with intention, being aware of what you're doing and mindfully doing so, I think is really powerful. Obviously, I need to remember to pull out my card from today and get that back out here. Whoa. But, generally speaking, these kinds of decks, I pull a card either at the end of a reading or at the beginning of a reading, or as to set the tone, and then maybe I'll cast on top of it some charms or something, or like I use these types of decks in like an ancestor reading to set a theme and then to pull some other cards, ancestor messages after that. That type of thing. So I don't very often pull, again, I would say I never pull more than 3, but most often with these, what I would call a modern oracle of these sort of thematic base, I'm generally just pulling 1. Because you could have really, like, this to me is so strongly intentional and building the flame and doing the work, and I'll go with the flow. Can you read this? 100%. Like, you can read this, like, set everything in motion and then move with it and follow that energy all the way through, and then being very intentional about what you're crafting and what you're making, right? So you definitely can get messages out of these, and many people use larger spreads. I'm just, generally speaking, this type of deck, I'm pulling 1 card and I'm doing other things in a reading around it, or I'm just pulling a single card, for the day or something like that. That tends to be how I use these, and it works really well that way, because then you're not really going to have any issue with similar like energy. But again, I think this does it skirts the line a little bit. But say if I was to get this one and the sacred space one, right? This is very specific about cleansing the space. This I would work with more of that idea of magic in the mundane, that I'm specifically working with clearing and opening up, and mostly clearing with a broom, really clearing up energy, and then a reminder, right, that everything that we do is part of that magic, and every space that we work in intention in. Our kitchen is sacred space, our living room is sacred. So, it's all sacred space, and to treat it as such and clear it as such as well. So I could definitely read these even if they came up together. So yeah, I again love the artwork. The new artist, again, I loved the artwork of the first person as well. So I do think they did a good job of not having it. Sorry, I'm just going to look for my bath one so I can remember to put it back. They did a good job in the 2 different artists not being jarring of a change, and I enjoy both of them, but I really love her artwork. And I do think that the bottom messages are tightened up. And I think that was a good move for me personally. Other people, this is just personal preference, right? I am not a big person for a lot of text on the bottoms anyways. And again, remember, you can just leave that there for words to pop up. I have that all the time, where I'll just put a card down, I'll look at the image, I'll look at the title, and I'll keep a soft gaze on the text. And so healing, just the word healing might pop up. Treat it as a scrying space, right? For you get your main message, and then if some words might pop up and out as sort of additions that way, which I think is really beautiful. And in this deck, or these, at least the 2 I've looked at so far, oftentimes looking at the keywords in the guidebook definitely helps to tighten it up if it's feeling a little bit loosey-goosey. But the imagery and the title, I think, is generally speaking enough, and any other little pops that you want to put in there. So again, really happy with it. I really don't again, I had no good reason to say, like, why is it that I just don't find myself I have these decks, but I never found myself using them. And I guess it's so far a good lesson in you've got to really give something time on the table in order to see. And sometimes the answer is, you know what, this just doesn't work for me and I'm going to pass it on. That happens quite a bit, and that's fair enough. Each deck is not for every person, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But I never wanted to get rid of them either. So it was just sort of holding this space where I don't want to get rid of it, but I never ever use it. And so doing these daily pulls and not putting any great weight on them or stress on them has really opened up. So far so good. Again, we're just a few, I don't know when we started, but we did quite a few pulls in Yule. I've just started Imbolc, so we'll see how it goes. Our intention is to keep doing it through the year. I'm glad we got some Yule in, but when we started, it was just definitely at the end of the winter solstice time period. But I'm glad we had the bit that we had. And we'll see how it goes. All right, there you go. Again, as far as I'm aware, the next two that are coming up, and they already have dates, are for Litha and Lammas. The Ostara one, and if you've heard something, please put it in the comments. But as far as I'm aware, we don't have a date on Lammas yet. So that's where we're at with the Seasons of the Witch. I hope you enjoyed this. Have a wonderful rest of this season, I suppose.